is Kelly Dale with Off the Beaten Path, and this is your Must Know Monday for Monday, January the 22nd. So, a lot of people have been requesting videos on the carrier beads ever since I got them back, I think, in December. And I've had to hold off on this video because I've created 21 patterns for an odd count and an even count peyote stitch that you can do over these beads, and I wanted to make sure that I tested each pattern to make sure it was going to work out good for you. So I've got that done. Now we can move on to the learning. So if you do not know what a carrier bead is, a carrier bead is an acrylic 2-hole bead that you make a strip of peyote stitch to go over the top of it. Then you can make it into a necklace, a bracelet, pair of earrings, whatever you want to do. Now, to make these carrier beads, you're going to need the acrylic 2-hole beads, and I'll show those to you. And then you're just going to need a stash of size 11 Delica beads. For the patterns that I've created, you're going to need 3 colors of your size 11 Delica to be able to do these. You can get by with 2 if you want, completely up to you. But there are tons of possibilities out there. Now, I wanted to let you know, today's video is going to feature how to do the odd count peyote stitch over the bead. A lot of the patterns that you find on Pinterest and online are going to be for even counts, and those are great. I'm going to show you those on Thursday. But for me personally, I like to do the odd count over these beads, because when I look down on the even count peyote and I put it on the bead, you can see just a sliver of your bead on each side of it. With the odd count, it completely covers the bead with no leverage on each side, and I think it just looks much better. Plus, I love it because you can actually center your designs when you're creating them. Now, I do have a step-by-step pattern available on my website, which is offthebeatedpathbeadstore.com, that will, number 1, teach you how to do the odd count peyote over the bead, and then number 2, it will have either 20 or 21 picture graphs, okay, like the graphs I've been showing you. I think my last 3 videos I've showed you the picture graphs that go with them, and I'm going to show you how to read that picture graph so that you will know. I do not have the word charts available, it's just the picture graphs. So I'm going to be starting out with a size 12 beading needle, and I'm going to use my 1G thread. You can use a 4-pound or a 6-pound fire line, but I do not suggest going above that. You can get by on the even count beads with about 20 inches, but I do recommend 30 inches. Your odd count, I do more like a yard for each bead. That gives me plenty for my tail thread and plenty to do the stitching with. Now, if you've looked at my odd count peyote video from a few months ago, actually I think it was last month, back at the very 1st of December, you'll see how to do this. But I'm going to show you again how to do the odd count, the special things that you have to do to make it the certain size strip that you're going to need for this bead, how to zip it together, and then how to do an actual project with it. So let's go ahead and get our stuff together, and we'll get started. What I have in front of me is a sampling of the patterns that you will get if you purchase the pattern on my website. It has all of these patterns here. As you can see, I've mainly used purple throughout all of my beads, and you can kind of have that as your scheme. You know, whatever color you want. You can have a major color and then your accent colors. So you can kind of see here what I've done. Now, I'm going to be showing you this bead today, which is this one right here. Okay, I did it in the white and this purple, so I'm going to do it in a turquoise and purple this time to kind of show you. And I'm going to get these off my tray, and we'll get started. This is the actual bead that we are going to be making our peyote strip to go over. So you can see it completely changes what you've got. Little hidden treasure, as my friend Spring would call this. But you can see it's got the 2 holes here. So whatever you make, you'll want to do as a double hold project. And the odd count beads fit really, really well on these little pieces. So I don't necessarily have to put any kind of adhesive or anything like that on these odd count beads because they are such a tight fit. So when doing the odd count, you're actually going to start out at the top of your graph. Your first row is gonna have 4 beads here instead of the end row, which is only going to have 3 beads. Your biggest thing to know about these carrier beads, when you look at your graph, and I guess I'll have to flip it this way, you will have 25 beads along each side. So the bottom and the top will have 25 beads as you count down. That's how you know when you'll have your 50 beads. To know your strip is the right length where we can zip it up, you're going to have one end that will have 4 beads and one end that will have 3 beads. So we're going to start at the top here. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is the exact same width as my column earrings a few months ago. So I'm going to make the majority of my design be turquoise, and I'm going to do the accents here in this color. Doesn't matter what colors you put in place of your letters. These are just here for your suggestion. So you'll start out with 7 beads. And we are going to let those drop down. Now, when you let them drop down, you'll want to make sure that you have a tail long enough to use that will work up the way for odd count. So I'm going to have, I guess, about 6 inches here. And working in the odd count, let me zoom in just a little bit here. Whoop, there we go. Now you can see good. I'm going to pick up 1 delicate. I'm going to skip the last one that I added and go through the next one. Now you can see that I did not make a stop bead to actually start like I normally would, and that's just because really there's not a need for a stop bead just unless you want one. Okay, so now I'm going to pick up 1 bead, skip 1, go through 1. And I'm doing the same colors here because this is what it's 1 color on my chart. 1, 11, skip 1, go through 1. And then you'll see that you have your 1 bead left here. Now, just a little reminder, a little recap of how to do the odd count is we pick up 1 bead, go under this little tail thread here, pull it through, and then go back through the bead you just added. Now, at this point, if your first 2 beads didn't sit straight up, you can fiddle with them and make them sit straight so that these are your rows. And let me get a marker here so that we can see. Okay, so you just did, we added these 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, and then we just went back and we added 1, 2, 3, and there was our little odd bead. So our next row is going to be C, C, C. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. That's our next row. So again, I'm going to pick up just some basics here. And I'll probably skip to the pattern a little bit quicker than what's actually here, so that way you can know when your pattern's going. So at this point, you're just working regular peyote stitch. You're going to pick up 1 bead, go through the next one that's sticking up. Pick up 1 delicate, go through the next one sticking up, and pick up 1, and go through the next one sticking up. So those are the beads that we just added. Now we're going to work back in the other direction. So we'll be going through this one. We'll add this one, that one, and that one. So you can see every other row, 1 row you'll be doing 4 beads, 1 row you'll be doing 3 beads. So we are going to pick up a bead, working back the other direction, going through the first bead sticking up. Pick up one, go through the next bead sticking up on that row. This is 2 we've added so far. This is 3 we've added. And then the 4th one is going to be our odd bead, so we're going to pick it up, go under this little tail thread here. Well, that did not work like I wanted it to. Let's try that again. I'm at home today. It's snowing. I'm doing this video a couple of days ahead of time and it's snowing, so I'm not used to working on this desk. Pull that through and then come back through the bead you just added. So our next row is going to be 3 beads again. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3. So you're just adding 3 beads for the row. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, we're working back in the other direction. So this time we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This may seem very elementary and basic to some people, but there are a lot of people out there who do not know how to read graphs, so this is why we are going a little bit in depth, row by row, on the graph. And don't worry, I'm not going to do the whole video for the graph. Alright, so our next row is 3 again, so we've got 1, 2, 3. And then you can see we're almost to where our pattern's going to start. Our next row has 4. So you can see here we're going to have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And remember that 4th bead is our odd bead. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and then our 4th bead is our little odd man out. So we're going to go under the tail thread here, pull through, and then come back through this bead. Alright, so our next row is our 3 bead row. And as you can see, we're going to add a C, a D, and a C. So we'll have C, D, and C. Alright, next row is going to be our 4 bead row. The great thing about this is it's pretty much even on both sides, so you know that your pattern's just going to pretty much repeat itself. So this row we have a C, D, D, C. So C, D, D, and then our last one is our odd man out, so we go under that tail thread, make sure the bead does not go under the thread, and pull this through. Alright, I'm going to do 2 more rows here just so that you completely understand. So we've got a D, a C, and a D. So D, C, D. Okay, and then this final row I'm going to show you, we have a D, a C, C, D. So D, C, C, D. So D, C, thread my needle back real quick. All right, so at this point, you are going to continue to follow your graph to make your strip that is going to be 50 rows long. And again, how you tell that you have 50 rows is you'll have 25 beads on each end, and you'll have a 4 bead here and 3 beads here. So I'm going to leave this here just for another minute so you can take a good look at it, take a picture of it, whatever you need to do. And we'll meet again when I finish this little piece. So I have my strip of peyote completed, and you can see I have 4 beads on this end and only 3 on this end. I have 25 beads on each side, and you can see how very different the pattern looks depending on your color scheme. Now what I've done is I've added a needle onto my leftover short thread, and I'm going to get rid of that thread just simply by stitching through the beads. Just like the odd count column earrings, you don't really want to add any sort of knots in this project, because anywhere you put a knot, you're going to see it. So you want to try and make sure that you just stitch through some beads to get rid of this thread. Okay, so we've got that. And I'll get rid of this thread. Okay, now you have 2 options. Option 1 is you can lay it on your carrier bead and zip it up this way, or you can just zip it up. For the sake of you being able to see, I'm going to lay it on the carrier bead so that you will be able to see exactly what I'm doing to zip up your piece. My thread is coming out. Well, my needle has come unthreaded. Let me thread on my needle again real quick. My thread is coming out of the bottom right hand bead, and I'm going to come to the bottom left hand bead and go up through that bead. Now I'm going to come to the next bead on the right, go through that bead, and I'm not going to pull these tight yet. Go through the next bead on the left, then the right. You can pull these threads tight, but for the sake of you being able to see what I'm doing, I'm leaving them loose right this second. Okay, and each time I'm just going from the right to the left. So now I'm going to pull it, and I'm going to go through my last bead here. Now, every bead at this point is connected except for these last 2 beads. And all you have to do is come down through this bead and then back up through this bead. And that pulls this closed for you. And if your design is not completely centered on your bead, you can take and just roll it around to where it's exactly where you want it. Now, if you look down on the thing, you see, get it centered here, you can see that it completely covers your bead. So you're going to take your needle, and just like I got rid of that short thread, you are just going to stitch through to get rid of this thread. And again, I have people ask me, well, what's the best way to do this? There is no best way, really. It doesn't matter how you do it, as long as you don't see the thread. But you will just continue until you know that this thread is secure, and then you can get rid. So you're going to make as many beads as you want to. For a stretchy bracelet, it's going to take about 15 of these beads. And you see I have them laid out the way I want them on my bracelet. So I've got my 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15. I'm using a 0.7 Stretch Magic and a 6mm rondelle. Now you can use any shape bead, any size bead, whatever you want. But I'm going to thread on a rondelle and then the top hole of my bead, and then the rondelle and the top hole of the next bead. And I'm going to continue adding my beads just like this until I have all the beads threaded on. So because I used a little bit of a bigger bead, I only found that I needed 13 for this specific bracelet. I'm making this for someone, so that needed 13. So I'm going to take, you see I started with a rondelle and I ended with a beaded bead. So now I'm just going to take and I'm going to tie the thread together. Okay, I'm going to put a couple more little knots in there. And then I'm going to trim this thread. Now you can put a little glue on that knot if you want to, but I don't find it necessary. Now, I'm going to take another piece of cording and want to make sure you have all your beads laid out the way that you want them to lay on the bracelet. You're going to pick any bead, it doesn't matter which one, but you're going to stick it through that bottom hole in your bead, add your next little separator bead, and then go through the bottom hole of the next bead. Pull that through. Then pick up a separator bead, and you are going to continue until you've gone all the way around, adding in your second. So once you have your other thread completed, you now have your finished bracelet. So you can see it's a really cute project with lots of design possibilities depending on your patterns that you use. I hope you enjoyed learning how to do the odd count carrier beads. Now I know the one question I'm going to get is that you did not see me attach the peyote strip to the bead in any way, and I will explain more about that on Thursday. But the odd count is a very tight fit around this bead, so it doesn't slide off easily. So I'm not going to attach this in any way to these beads. You can if you want to, and like I said, I will talk more to you about that on Thursday. Now, we do have, like I said at the beginning of the video, a step-by-step pattern for how to do the odd count, as well as the, it's either, I believe it's 20 odd count picture graph patterns for this project. And just to let you know, this is the 22nd. Today through the 27th, okay, so January 22nd through January 27th of 2018, if you use the coupon code DELICA, DELICA, on our website, we're going to hook you up this week and give you a percentage off of your Delicas that you purchased this week through our website. And again, that is offthebeadedpathbeadstore.com, and this week the coupon code is DELICA. We also have the carrier beads, and they're under their own category under the bead section of our website. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again on Thursday. Bye-bye.